Win Percy, I was saying to you just a little bit earlier on, I remember that name so well as a child growing up, going to Silverstone every weekend, watching the touring cars, and my dad would be there in his official role, and I'd be stood on the banking with my grandfather and watching, and I just remember those days so clearly, and I should imagine they're fairly fond memories of yours as well.
Those were the days when if you touched somebody, if you nudged somebody, you actually apologised. You know, unlike now, where they seem to be stock cars, and they're very clever at spinning each other off and things like that. But no, it was great, and I love that era of touring cars. You know, with the big Camaros, Minis, Celicas, Capris. It was just great fun.
Like you say, there's so many different cars out on the circuit as well, and things have changed dramatically from that time in touring cars to now.
Yeah, one of the biggest things, of course, is money. My first salary, which was 75 for Toyota, was £2,000 for the year. And when I eventually got in with Tom Walkinshaw with the RX-7, Tom said to me, "I'll pay you £6,000, Winston. If you'd only win the championship, I'm not so sure I'll pay you." Luckily, I won the championship and got paid.
Well, Mr. Walkinshaw was known for being quite a character, let's say.
Yeah, he was a true Scotsman. Sorry, guys, if anybody's Scots. Now, the following year, he upped it £2,000, and he said the same rules apply. If you don't win, you don't get paid. Luckily, again, I was fortunate because the car was amazing, and we did it again. And then he messed me around over money, which was typically Tom. So at the end of '82, with the RX-7, he said to me, "I don't know what I'm going to do with you next year." And I said, "Pardon? I thought I was your driver." And he said, "Well, I haven't got to drive for you." This was Tom acting the fool, which I wasn't used to. And so I trotted off down the pit lane looking pretty fed up. And Toyota said, "Whatever's wrong with you? And you just won the championship." And I said, "Well, I haven't got to drive next year." And they said, "Well, we'll take you back." So I shook hands, went back down the pit lane, picked up my kit. Tom said, "Well, come in." He said, "We'll talk about your Rover next year." And I said, "No, you told me I wasn't wanted." And he said, "Well, of course you are." He said, "I've got a Rover drive for you." I said, "I've just shook hands with Toyota." He said, "Well, go and unshake." I said, "No, I can't. I've done it." And he just literally exploded and walked off up the road. Tom was used to getting his own way.
Well, that's what you get if you play a prank on somebody on such a serious level.
Exactly.
But the Walkinshaw-Percy partnership was reunited a couple of years later, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was good fun actually. When the first year with the Jaguars that I was about to drive with Tom, I drove his particular car at Silverstone one day, and because Tom was rather wide and short, the seat was wide and close to the steering wheel, and I'm sort of 6 foot, so I did 3 laps in his car. He came and opened the door and said, "What do you think of my car?" I said, "Well, it's very nice, Tom, but could we put the seat back? If you want to drive my car, you'll drive it where the seat is." So by the time he'd finished that short sentence, I was back in the car. Actually, I said, "To be honest, it's perfect." So I got the drive, and we did have, well, great fun together, I must admit, yeah.
And of course, up until the later years when we did lose Mr. Walkinshaw, but you remained great friends.
Oh yeah, for sure. He let me down many times, but the people that fell out with Tom, he probably let them down more times than me. But if you look at the package that we had from the time I met him, which was Mallory 75, my first touring car race, when he actually congratulated me and said, "One day I'll have my own racing team," he said, "I'd like you to drive for me." And it happened. And one year, 85 of the Rovers, we actually won 7 of the European races that year, 500k races in 1 year together. And he was hard, but he was fair.
And do you think he helped to develop you as a driver?
Yeah, I think so. We worked together well, and like any partnership, you know, when I've run teams myself, if you don't get 2 guys that work together really well, you hear stories of one guy getting out of a car and changing the brake balance, not telling the other driver. Stupid things like that. If you work together as we did, you get the best out of each other.